I had these two boys, one was 7 and one was 5, and their father had died in a fire. And I remember these kids had been on the waiting list for about 1.5 years. And so something that me and my coworker Tim try to do is we occasionally try to spend time with these kids on the waiting list so that way they don't feel like they're just a name or a number on a piece of paper somewhere. I had a couple of coupons for like a free ice cream cone at McDonald's. So I took them into McDonald's. And I remember as we were trying to get out of the car to go into McDonald's, this boy grabbed me by the arm. And I remember he looked very serious, which just seemed so out of character for this kid. And he said, "Mr. Jared, I gotta ask you something before we go into McDonald's." He just very calmly and politely asked me, he said, "Mr. Jared, I know you're not my color or my brother's color, but when we go into McDonald's, can you pretend like you're my father?" I remember Ernest sitting me down and mentioning that the kids that we serve in the mentoring program were actually the exact same as the kids we serve in the residential program. But one of the issues is that we didn't have as much support or as much control or as much really influence in order to help those kids. And so I remember at the time, not really disbelieving Ernest, but thinking, that can't be true. I mean, I've worked with the kids out here at the ranch and seen their issues, but as I've worked in the mentoring program, I've realized that a lot of our kids struggle with the same issues as far as feeling unloved or not having enough support or feeling neglect. And in the mentoring program, all of our kids come from single parent homes. We use the term fatherless a lot, and if you were to go on our website or look at our literature, that's the term you'd see. But really what we mean by that is kids that come from single parent homes. It just so happens to be that about 90% of the time those are homes where a father is absent. And if you come from a fatherless home, you're really destined to fail in every single way. I mean, the stats are very much against you. You're more likely to commit suicide, more likely to drop out of high school, more likely to end up in prison or in jail or homeless. Pretty much every negative stigma or behavior that you can think of is associated very heavily with coming from a single parent home. And so that's why we find mentoring is so important. And I could just quote stats and I could go over the numbers all day. But the thing, that I want people to realize is that our kids don't have to be another stat. And mentoring is a way, and the statistic and the research show that mentoring is the way to help these kids out of these situations. A study at Harvard recently showed that kids were really just one adult away from being a successful individual. And so to think about that in terms of our kids, that really they're just one adult away from not being a statistic. It's not anything miraculous. It's not, a kid's not going to change overnight, but just by having a constant presence in this kid's life and a constant influence is really what can influence them for the good. And the real reason we like mentoring too is that it gives these kids a chance to have a relationship with Christ and see the impact of Christ. Many of the kids who come to us are not religious. They don't attend church weekly. I think probably a number of them might be spiritual, but to actually sit them down with a Christian mentor who's going to share the love of Christ with them and to share their life with the kid is truly what we believe makes the ultimate difference.